right, so All-Star voting is officially up and running. One of my favorite things about All-Star Weekend and All-Star voting in general is seeing who those new younger guys are going to be entering that All-Star conversation. And luckily, this season, there are a ton, right? Like this season has been filled with some amazing performers, some guys who are finally putting it all together and having these all-star caliber seasons. So I'm going to list off 5 players who I believe should be set to make their first all-star games of their career. A side note, I've always said this about All-Star Weekend and the All-Star game in general, and I just want to put this take on video. Just because you're not voted in as an all-star, in my eyes, doesn't make you not an all-star, right? Like if you're having an all-star level season and you don't make that list of 24 guys who made the all-star game, that doesn't mean you weren't all-star level or all-star caliber. You just didn't qualify for that list of 24 because there are only so many spots that can be allowed on that team. So even if one of these guys I named doesn't end up making the game, that doesn't mean they didn't have all-star level production. There are more than 24 all-stars in the NBA throughout the course of a season. Sometimes you're just an all-star that didn't make the game, right? Like we also know just because someone made the all-star game over you doesn't mean their production during the season was better than your production, right? So just wanted to throw that out. Gonna start here with an obvious one, and that is Victor Wembanyama. Victor is having simply a ridiculous season. He's done more than live up to the expectations since being drafted last year. Right now, there is an argument. I'm not saying that he is, but there is an argument for him being the best defensive player in the league. I think he's put together a good enough resume to be voted in as Defensive Player of the Year in just his second season. And he's also putting up an MVP caliber season. Like he's one of the few second year guys to fit well within that MVP conversation this early. Last guy I can really think of, and you guys can let me know if I'm wrong, is Luka Doncic. Luka in his second season was like MVP caliber. I don't remember where he ended up on the ladder, that top 10 ladder when the season ended. It was a weirder season in his second year because there's the bubble thrown in there. But Wembanyama has been just as impressive as Luka was in his year 2 here with the Spurs. Amazing basketball. It really does look like a video game watching him play, watching him confidently pull up from distance. The percentages from 3 aren't like eye-popping. They're decent enough, but still seeing him be that confident from range is awesome for a guy his height. And I also always say this, the jumper looks amazing. His mechanics are great. He's super confident. We're seeing him do a little bit off the dribble this season. He's got this really weird looking step back to his right side that he shoots on the right elbow from time to time over a defender, and he knocks it down a lot of times with ease. He's just continuing to expand his game, and it's just one of those things where he gets better with the more confident he is. The superstar level skill set has always been there. It's just about his mentality and his confidence. Confidence was never an issue for him. And we're seeing as he just continues to get more comfortable, he is really looking like this MVP caliber guy. I don't think there's any question he's an all-star. And I think there's also a world where he starts in the all-star game in just his second season of his career. And on top of that, the Spurs have been pretty solid this year. Next, going with Cade Cunningham. Cade has been amazing. It was only a matter of time. Cade was one of those guys where you knew individually he was great, but the team success just wasn't there. So there wasn't much of an argument for him making the All-Star game. Now, you can make the All-Star game and still be on a bad team. We've seen that happen from time to time, but the Pistons were so bad, you couldn't put Cade in there. But this season, they have been one of the better performers out in the Eastern Conference. Right now, they're comfortably in that play-in tournament category within like that 8 to 9 to 10 range. They're sitting comfortably in there. Cade has been flat out amazing as a growing 3-level scorer. He's benefiting from this increased spacing that the Pistons have put around him by getting guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. or Tobias Harris or Malik Beasley. And he's doing a great job at facilitating and finding guys. If you watch him play eye test wise, it screams future superstar flat out. Like being a 6'7", 6'8" point guard with this skill set, this ability to score the basketball and distribute, it's rare. There are some times, and this is going to sound crazy to think and say out loud, but just ride with me here. There are some times where he looks a little Luka Doncic reminiscent. Sometimes it's like that taller point guard who has this really creative in between game, some solid off the dribble stuff out in the perimeter, some Luka stuff here and there from Cade. And again, I'm not saying he's absolutely on Luka's level, but I do see some resemblances in his game from time to time. All in all, he's been great. He has led this Pistons team to amazing success. Got to vote him in as an all-star, and there's also an argument for him being all NBA. As I said, it's an argument, but there have been some guards across the league who have kind of fell down the ladder just a bit with their production. Like if we're talking about the Eastern Conference, Dame just has not been efficient this season. And I think Cade's been better this season relative to Dame. Maxey is going to fall down a bit in some of his rankings just because the Sixers as a whole have been underperforming, and that's primarily due to injuries. But my point still stands, right? Cade has been amazing while some point guards out across the association have fallen off just a bit. Tyrese Halliburton, now he's starting to find his footing just a bit, but you get my gist, right? Cade's been great, and there's an argument for him being all NBA this year. Next up, Jalen Williams. If you're the best team in your conference, you got to send multiple guys to the All-Star game. And Jalen Williams should be an All-Star next to SGA. He has been perfect as an all-around threat. Perfect second option next to SGA. He's raised his game. He's been better offensively, especially as a scorer this season relative to last year. It's a no-brainer for Jalen Williams to be voted as an all-star. And I think it's really cool that we're back at a point where the Thunder have this amazing duo, right? And this is like yet another chapter for the OKC Thunder with them having this awesome 1-2 punch out on the perimeter. Obviously, last time it was Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, and now we have SGA and Jalen Williams. And these two have the upside to be better than what Kevin Durant and Russ were. Now, am I saying they will? No, right? I'm not saying 100% is going to happen, but there is a possibility with how great this team is, how well they're built. They could end up being the first 1-2 punch to bring a championship here to OKC. They're simply one of the best teams in the NBA. So were the Thunder when they had Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. I want to throw that out there. But here we go with these two guys. They've been amazing. They've been super consistent next to each other. A championship chapter or a championship level chapter has just been reopened here for the Thunder. And that's thanks to these two guys. And Jalen Williams' play has been perfect as a second option guy. Next up, Alperen Sengun. Houston is way better than I thought. I knew they were going to be competitive this year. If you look at the way they ended last year, sure, they missed the play-in tournament, but there was a lot of promise near the end of the year. And we knew they were going to be solid coming into the season. We knew they were going to end up growing a lot from last season. Second seed in the Western Conference right now is amazing, right? That's way, way better than a lot of people thought. I think Şengün's been the most consistent offensive performer here for this team. Just an entertaining game, right? In an entertaining way that he's approaching the game. Really entertaining style overall. Can post you up, can drive you to the basket. Is really athletic. If you watch him, doesn't look athletic, but he makes these explosive plays time and time again. Amazing passer, just a guy that you can really run your offense through, maybe from the top of the key or like the high post. He's amazing at that. The numbers aren't eye-popping for him, but still, like, number 2 seed in the Western Conference, he's their best player. Gotta send him in there. And also for entertainment purposes, having Jokic and Şengün in the same All-Star game would be crazy. I love to see them pitted against each other, actually, because they're doing, like, I think that 4-team thing, that 4-team tournament in the All-Star game. So we'll see. But Şengün's been great. Houston has been great as a whole. If you're this good, you got to send at least one rep to the All-Star game, and it should be Alperen Sengun here for Houston. A couple years ago, I would have thought it would end up being Jalen Williams being the first Rocket in this new era to be an all-star, but Şengün has been amazing. Got to throw him in there. Finally, this one is a little bit controversial, but I'm going with Evan Mobley. So I've been having this debate with people a ton. I was talking to my friends about this actually this weekend. Should the Cavaliers send more than just Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell to the All-Star game? In my opinion, they should. If you are this good and you're at the top of your conference and you've put together, I think, 2 win streaks so far before the All-Star break of 12 games, you're sending 3. You're sending more than just 2 All-Stars. I draw this comparison a lot. Remember the Atlanta Hawks back in 2015, I believe? They got off to this ridiculous start, and they were so good out east as the number 1 seed. They sent Kyle Korver, Jeff Teague, Paul Millsap, and Al Horford to the All-Star game. It's similar here with Cleveland. Now, I'd have to go back and look and see what ATL's record was around this same time compared to this Cavaliers team, but the vibes are very similar. And I think if you're this good as a team, send your third best guy to the All-Star game for sure. I think that's where we're at right now. Mobley's been great. Since Kenny Atkinson got here, he's utilizing him in different ways on the offensive end. He's driving the ball to the basket. He's taking a high volume of 3-point shots. The defense is still there. Him and Jared Allen have been a flawless fit next to one another. Send 3, right? And make your third guy Mobley. There's an argument also for sending Jared Allen. I don't think they're going to be able to send 4, right? 4 is a bit crazy right now. Maybe there's a world where somebody gets hurt in the Eastern Conference and you have maybe Jared Allen as a replacement. But if I'm sending 3 for Cleveland to the All-Star game, third guy's going to be Mobley, flat out. So those are my 5 guys who I think should be first-time All-Stars this season. If I missed anybody, let me know. If any of these seems crazy, and the only one I feel like where I was kind of pushing it a bit was Evan Mobley. 3 of these seem pretty obvious, but let me know if I missed anyone or if I fell short with these 5, and we'll see how things end up rounding out once All-Star voting comes back. Now, I do want to throw this out there. Out of these 5, I think one of them I can only confidently say will be voted in as a starter, which is also kind of weird because they're doing that 14 tournament thing, so I don't even know how starting will work and look and everything like that. But let's say like we were going with this traditional All-Star game format and you were going 2 teams against each other, 2 teams of 12. Victor would be the only guy out of this list here who I would confidently say would be a starter. 100%. That's how good he's been. But still, amazing production from these guys. I'm very confident in their ability to get voted into the game, and we'll see what ends up happening as All-Star break slowly comes a bit closer. We're about a month out from now. And we'll see what ends up happening. But great production from these players, and we'll see how voting turns out once the returns come back in.